Oh, hello. In today's video, we're going to be doing a faction review of the Kasrkin. So, grab your melter gun, shout for Cadia in an obnoxiously loud voice, and let's go. So, the Kasrkin kill team, it has security and seek and destroy. Now, if you've been watching this sequence of videos, if you're a Tail to Impulse super fan and you just watch all my content, then you'll know that I've been raving about security. About seek and destroy, rather. Now, that was very true when I was reviewing the Marine teams. I think they want to take seek and destroy if they can, because they're very murderous. Yeah, I think there's actually a really good argument for taking security with the Kasrkin. We'll get onto it when we get onto the relevant slide, but I think security and seek and destroy is a great mix, for sure. So in terms of your team, it's a 10 model team. Really quite a straightforward team, this, compared to the last one we did was the Genestealer, the Brood Brothers, right? This is a much simpler team. So you're forced to take a Sergeant, I think, and, you know, tell me in the comments if you disagree. But I think that there's one build for the leader that's worth having, and I think it is the Hot Shot, Las Pistol, and Power Weapon. You can make an argument for the Las Pistol, I suppose, if you really want to, but the Hot Shot, Las Pistol, and the Power Weapon is the way to go. And then you have essentially a gunner pool, right? So you've got the option of the Flamer, the Grenade Launcher, the Hotshot Volley Gun, the Melter Gun, the Plasma Gun, and the Sharpshooter. And you're picking 4 from that pool. So you're picking 2 to leave behind, right? And then you take one of everything else, and you have to take one trooper. The trooper's actually pretty good, so you don't mind, right? So there's less choices to make. You're essentially going, how do I want to arm my sergeant? I think there's one best way. And which 2 gunners / snipers don't I want to use? And I think the answer's not actually that obvious with that. So let's get into it. So their faction rule is pretty straightforward. It's Skillet Arms. It's a pretty straightforward buff. So, Skillet Arms, the Kasrkin go where they're needed, battle-hardened, uncompromised, and equipped with the best weapons available. These elites must pursue their objectives with professionalism, hard-won experience, and rigid determination. Strategic Gambit. Select a Skillet Arms for friendly Kasrkin operatives to have until the ready step of the next strategy phase. Okay. So you're getting 1 free buff per turning point, and you're choosing which buff you have at the start of each turning point. So the first one is Light 'em Up. Establishing overlapping fields of fire as they advance, the Kasrkin react to enemy movement with a lethal volley of fire. Whenever a friendly Kasrkin operative is shooting a ready enemy operative, its ranged weapons have the severe weapon rule. So you have to be shooting someone that hasn't already activated. So I think you're basically living in Light 'em Up, not in the first turning point. Because if you think about it, in the first turning point, all their ready operatives are probably going to deploy safe, right? And they're going to move to places where you could potentially shoot them, but they're going to deploy on conceal behind things. So you probably, almost certainly, unless your opponent's really misdeployed, in which case you'll see that and you'll be like, oh, I've got a shot here, a shot here, a shot here. You're probably not using Light 'em Up in the first turning point, because you're not going to get a shot at any ready enemy operatives. So in the first turning point, you're going to use something else. But I think in turning point 2, turning point 3, certainly, you want to live in Light 'em Up, because you want to be trying to get shots. I mean, that's how you win the game, right? You want to be trying shooting their ready operatives. If they're only offering you their used operatives to trade, you're less likely to do well, right? Strike Fast. Kasrkin pride themselves upon their physical fitness and can cover ground swiftly, even when carrying heavy combat gear. Whenever a friendly Kasrkin operative is performing the reposition action, add 1 to its move stat. So this is a great pick for the first turn, I think. Obviously, depending on your map, and depending on where you want to go, and where the terrain is, and you can do some measuring out first. But it can give you that, it can just help you to traverse things. Well, not traverse isn't a rules term anymore, Phil. It can help you to climb over things. It can help you to go through doorways. So I think it's a great pick for that turn 1, where you're probably not going to get much use out of Light 'em Up. I don't know that you're using it much after that. But there might be situations where in the strategy phase, you whip out your measuring tools and you go, okay, well, I'm going to need this extra range movement to do this precise thing that I want to do, and then you might consider it. Ice in your veins. All Cadians are subjected to a lifetime of war. These chosen to join the ranks of the elite Kasrkin are among the hardiest, yeah. Whenever a friendly Kasrkin operative is fighting or retaliating, or an operative is shooting it, during the first time an attack dice inflicts normal damage of 4 or more on this operative during that sequence, the dice inflicts 1 less damage on it. I think this, again, it's one of those things. A lot of people say, oh, in the first turn no one shoots anyone. Because I'm quite bad at the game, I think, or because Zimbad's very good, he always seems to end up shooting me in the first turning point, even when I'm trying quite hard to not give him any shots, right? So maybe this is another pick for that first turning point if you are worried that you're not good enough to keep all 10 of your guys safe from the possibility of being shot, right? But again, after the first turning point, I think it's hard to pass up Light 'em Up. And then we've got for Cadia. Forget Orc players shouting "Wah." This is where it's at, right? You be sure to bellow it right into your opponent's ear hole so that they feel kind of uncomfortable. No, don't actually do that. But whenever I see an exclamation mark, my brain just kind of, it makes me want to scream and shout like a lunatic. I can't help myself. All Kasrkin strive to uphold the honour of their dead homeworld. Add one to the attack stat of friendly Kasrkin operatives' melee weapons to a maximum of 4. Oh, to a maximum of 4. That sucks. I've written something else elsewhere on one of these slides that isn't true. I'm upset now. To a maximum of 4 is kind of sad because I had written you could use it on your sergeant with his power sword, but you can't do that. Yeah, it's okay. I think it's a bit of a desperation move, to be perfectly honest with you. Yeah, because your power sword that your leader will have is probably your only really good close combat weapon, and so it's already got 4 attacks. So if you're using this to gain attacks with anybody else, to a maximum of 4 is a bit meh. But maybe it's what you need to do later in the game. When sometimes you get those turn 4s that feel like a sort of fist fight in a minefield, right? Because you just got like these, my medic, it has to kill your Voxman over this point, and that's going to be the point that swings it. So maybe in that scenario it comes up, but it's not really that useful. Let's look at the strategic ploys. So elimination pattern. Having already outmaneuvered the foe, the Kasrkin attempt to fell their target in a single volley. Whenever a friendly Kasrkin operative is shooting with a hot shot weapon against a target that's not in cover, that weapon has the piercing crits 1 rule, or piercing 1 if it's a hot shot volley gun. So this is really, really good, because if you're in Light 'em Up in most turns, I think you will be, that means that against ready models anyway, you'll effectively have piercing 1, right? Because you can guarantee yourself a crit with severe, so you're going to get the piercing crits off. So that's really good. Hard pressed not to activate this almost every turn. I think you even want it in turn 1 where, yes, you may not get a shot, but the threat of having it active is going to mean that actually your opponent's going to worry about, they might worry about putting someone somewhere where they can get a shot with a hot shot las gun, where before they'd be like, oh well, a hot shot las gun's probably not going to do very much. Engage from cover. Kasrkin are used to being outnumbered and outgunned, using cover to avoid incoming fire as they engage. Whenever an operative is shooting a friendly Kasrkin operative that's in cover, you can reroll one of your defense dice. So, if you're playing on Volcus, certainly you're going to be in cover quite a lot. Having a reroll on a 4-up save is not bad, right? And it's fairly easy to be in cover on Volcus. Obviously, it's going to vary depending on the map that you're on and the way things are set up, but I like this as well a lot. Clear and sweep. The Kasrkin advance steadily towards their objectives, clearing the battlefield of enemies quadrant by quadrant. Place your clear and sweep marker in the kill zone. Whenever a friendly Kasrkin operative within 5 horizontally of that marker is shooting an operative also within 5 horizontally of that marker, that friendly operative's weapons have the balanced weapon rule. In the ready step of the next strategy phase, remove that marker. This is kind of lame. Right, so it's got this needlessly tricky thing where you've got to place a marker and you've got to be within 5 and they've got to be within 5, and then the payoff is that you get balance, which is reroll 1 dice. So, given that you can pay a CP to reroll 1 dice when you know that you'll need it, right? I just think putting the marker down, worrying about where it is. Obviously, you've got the advantage that maybe your opponent doesn't want to step into it, right? But you've got to try and place this such that multiple models of yours are going to benefit from it. But even then, balanced is, you might just roll all hits. You're hitting on 3s anyway, right? So it's a lot of faff for, I don't think, a massive thing. But that said, it is 5 inches horizontally and 5 inches, so you could be over 10 inches away, because you've got the 20mm marker in the middle as well, right? So you could be just over 10 inches away from your opponent, which is not that hard to do. Needless to say, I don't recommend building a giant token for this that's the 20mm marker with like a 5-inch radius all the way around it, because that would be really stupid. I think any 3 of these strategy ploys could be candidates for the free strategy ploy in the scouting phase, especially elimination pattern and engage from cover, which I kind of want to turn on almost every turn if I've got the spare points, right? Relocate. The Kasrkin are always on the move, advancing swiftly across the battlefield to take up new firing positions. Select one friendly Kasrkin operative that's more than 3 from enemy operatives. That operative and each other friendly Kasrkin operative that's both within 3 of that operative and more than 3 from enemy operatives can perform a free dash action in an order of your choice. You can't use it in the first turning point. This is pretty good. Some free movement's pretty good. It could potentially be a game winner in the situation where it comes up. Yeah. Firefight Ploys. Seize the initiative. Kasrkin squads are bold and decisive, acting with speed and clarity even in the confusion of battle. Use this firefight ploy at the end of a firefight phase, excluding the final firefight phase, in the initiative step of the next strategy phase. When rolling off to decide the initiative, you can do one of the following: reroll your dice or force your opponent to reroll their dice. Playing around with who's going first can be really powerful and can potentially win you the game. But this is so, restricted in so many ways. So, you've got to have CP left at the end of your firefight phase. Right? So, you've got to have kept one back that you haven't used for a CP reroll or any of your other firefight ploys. And then, you've got to decide to use this before you've seen any of the dice. Right? And so, it basically has so many opportunities to do nothing. Because you do it before you've seen the dice, so you go, I really want to go first next turn, so I spend my CP here, and then you roll the dice, and you roll a 4, and they roll a 3, and you're like, cool, I've just thrown CP away, right? Or, you spend it because you really want to go first, they roll a 4, you roll a 3, and you go, okay, I'll re-roll, and then you roll a 2, and it does nothing. So there's just so many opportunities for this to be a wasted CP. If you could play it after you'd seen the dice, so there was only one opportunity for it to be a wasted CP, I don't think it will be overpowered, right? Because it feels bad to spend the CP and then go, oh, that was pointless, right? Yeah, I don't really rate it. But that said, if you've got the CP left at the end of the firefight phase and you can see, when I go first next turn, I'm going to kill that guy, and if I don't go first, he's going to kill my guy, you're still going to pay for it. You're still going to do it. But it's kind of like, it's almost annoying that it's there, right? Because you can't justify to yourself not spending for it, but at the same time, there's a decent chance you're just putting a CP in the bin. I don't know. But, going first is fantastic. I just think this is too crippled. Cover retreat. Should a Kasrkin soldier need to retreat, their allies may lay down a withering barrage of covering fire. Use this firefight ploy when a friendly Kasrkin operative performs the fall back action while visible to within 6 of another friendly Kasrkin operative that's not within control range of any enemy operatives. After that friendly operative has finished moving, but before that fall back action ends, the other friendly operative can immediately perform a free shoot action. So this is really good when it comes up. I've played so many games where nobody's fallen back, right? And that's not just me being rubbish at the game. My opponent also hasn't really wanted to fall back ever. So it's okay though. It makes falling back as a 2 APL team less painful, right? It gives you the ability to fall back and then for a CP, fall back and shoot the guy, which is sometimes going to be the right choice. So it's great that it's there. You will go for games without using it, and you just have to worry. You have to remember that you have it, and remember and have the presence of mind to actually use it when that situation comes up where it's really useful to you. Neutralize target. Designated and exposed enemy operative as a priority target. This operative levels their weapon and fires a volley of rounds. Use this firefight ploy when a Kasrkin operative is shooting. After rolling your attack dice, if the target is expended and not in cover, you can re-roll any of your attack dice. So this is really good, especially since if you're in light 'em up, you get a bonus against shooting a readied guy. of severe. So this gives you a bonus to shooting an expended guy, which is, it's cool because it can kind of cover that weakness. And it lets you reroll any of your attack dice, which, especially if you've got piercing crits up for your hotshot weapons, is going to let you try and fish for some piercing, which is nice. Yeah, I like this. I like this a lot. It's just, it's it's a little bit situational because it has to be an expended guy that's not in cover, but it is useful to have, right? For sure. Then you got Give No Ground. Hardened by a lifetime spent defending the Imperium from the horrific denizens of the Eye of Terror, the Kasrkin demonstrates unwavering discipline in the face of the enemy. Use this firefight ploy during a friendly Kasrkin operative's activation or at the end of the firefight phase. Select one of your mission markers or an objective marker. Until the end of the activation or until the start of the next turning point, respectively, if the total APL of a friendly Kasrkin operative contesting that marker is 2, and the total APL of enemy operatives in the contest is the same, the friendly Kasrkin operative controls that marker. So it's really situational. It means that if I have a 2 APL guy on an objective marker, and you also have a 2 APL guy on an objective marker, then I can spend a CP to say, that's my marker now, Dave. Really situational. The trick will be remembering that you can do it, right? Especially when you go to a tournament and every game is into a Marine team and it's completely irrelevant because they have 3 APL. But, again, it might, if the game is close, it might win you the game. So, a couple there to bear in mind, I guess, as we go. Into the operatives. So we're starting out with the sergeant. So we see that he has a 3 APL. So he's got that 3rd APL. So it's this thing where quite often now with these teams, we are giving our leaders an extra APL, which is nice. A 6-inch move, a 4-up save, and he's got an extra wound as well. He's got 9 wounds. So he's mandatory. I mean, you take him anyway. I really think the hotshot last pistol and the power weapon is the no contest best loadout for this guy. You've got 3 APL, so you're wanting to shoot, charge, fight, or fight, charge, shoot, like where that's a possibility. So you want to get into combat, right? So you want that power weapon, which is 4 dice hitting on 3s, 4-6 lethal, 5 up. You want the hotshot las pistol because it's the same as the bolt pistol, but it's going to benefit from the various things in the list, like light them up, right, and other things that we might see later on. But it's going to benefit from that. That, and also the piercing crits one from the elimination pattern strategic ploy. So benefiting from those two things just makes the hotshot las pistol the obvious choice. The bolt pistol is basically a trap. It shouldn't be on there. Actually, it's just a trap for new players, to be perfectly honest. So then you got hotshot las pistol, which is 4, 3 up, 3, 4, range 8. And then we can basically argue it's pretty well piercing 1. That makes it pretty close to the plasma pistol on standard. I think plasma pistol supercharge on a model with this many wounds is kind of a trap. So I would never go plasma pistol chainsword. I think you want to go plasma pistol power weapon. Being able to flip skill at arms, so his tactical command ability, I'll read it first. Tactical command is 0 AP. Select a friendly Kasrkin operative, select skill at arms that operative to have instead of any it currently has, until the ready step of the next strategy phase. Or instead of doing the effect above, if your clearance sweep marker is in the kill zone, you can move it and place it again. You can't do this if you're in control range of an enemy operative. So, being able to flip skill at arms for a key model is pretty handy. One thing you could do is to flip a model that's already shot to have ice in your veins, right? So you've taken someone, they've shot, they've gained the benefit or not of having light them up active, and then you can protect that model for the rest of the turning point by moving its ice in your veins and giving it that little bit of damage reduction, which is nice. I've written on here that you can flip yourself to Cadia before charging in, but the power of reading tells us that's not going to help you because you can't actually get that tasty 5 dice power sword. That will be too good and too fun, apparently. So, not that. You could flip yourself to have an extra inch of movement, right, which might help you to make a charge that you wouldn't otherwise have. So that is an option to think of as well. I'm less excited about moving the clearance sweep marker. That kind of... I'm just not really vibing with clearance sweep. Like, it's fine, and I might even use it. It's not bad, but it's a lot of faff for a pretty marginal benefit, I think. the gunner and the sharpshooter, so we take these at the same time. So first of all, we get a look at the standard stat line. So as predicted, it's APL 2, move 6, save 4 up, 8 wounds. You are definitely going to pick 4 of these. It's quite hard. I think you never take the flamer. When I reviewed the Dream Stealer Cult, I said there was maybe an argument for the flamer because that was 2 up and the rest of the team was generally 4 up, right? But this is 2 up versus 3 up and it's a weak-ass flamer, so probably not going to bother with that. I think you always want to take the hotshot volley gun. I think that's an auto take because 5 attacks on the focused fire with piercing crits 1 is really good. And remember that when everyone else is benefiting from... If you use the ploy that gives all of your last weapons piercing crits, it gives the hotshot volley straight up crits 1, which means that even if you're shooting at an expended operative, even if you have, because light up only works against ready operatives, you're getting full on crits 1 anyway, which is pretty good. The melter gun, I think, on the one hand, it is range 6. And so it doesn't definitely vibe with the rest of the team. It's kind of a long-range shooting team, whereas your melter gun, you have to move up. But on the other hand, it won't always kill a Marine, but it certainly can one-shot a Marine, and that's pretty useful. Especially considering, again, if you manage to get the drop, and it can happen on a Marine that's not expended, right? You could have Severe, which is pretty bloody good on a melter gun. Let me just double check that. You can definitely have light 'em up. Yeah, light 'em up works on every weapon, not just hotshot weapons. So yeah, that makes the melter gun really nice. A plasma gun's just a really good gun. I don't think you ever really want to supercharge it unless you're comfortable with dying. The sharpshooter. Now, hit on 2s, 3-3. Devastating 3, heavy, silent, concealed position. So he's shooting once on silent and then he stops being silent. So this is for those of you that play the previous edition, this is a big nerf. Means that you can't be safe for the whole game. But realistically, you're going to be safe for 2 turns because you're going to be concealed for those 2 turns. Only going unconcealed after you've shot the second time, right? And just the fact that this is a hotshot marksman rifle, and therefore it can benefit from the various things that you have that buff hotshot. So it can gain piercing crits, okay? And it can gain severe if it gets a shot on somebody who is ready. Having severe and piercing crits and devastating 3 all at the same time is potentially a bit tasty. It is potentially a bit tasty. So I think actually there's play for the sharpshooter because it's a hot shot weapon, and it's going to get those hot shot buffs. But the grenade launcher is also pretty good. But yeah, I just think the piercing crits for it being a hot shot weapon. Maybe. Let me know what you think. It's the same question I posed, and nobody's answered yet on the Brew Brothers one. What's your take on the grenade launcher versus the sniper debate? Actually, contrary to the zeitgeist, I'm edging towards the sniper again. I've taught myself around to it by actually reading the cards. I want to play it. I don't want to play it a couple of times and make a decision that way, for sure. But I would always be taking plasma melter and hotshot volley gun. I could see a world where I drop the melter gun for the grenade launcher. That sounds insane, but I could kind of, depending on how it actually plays on the field and how often my melter gun just dies. The melter gun is a missile. You're sending it forward. You hope to kill somebody and he's going to die in exchange. Probably you always take the melter gun. Probably that's BS, right? But yeah, plasma melter and hotshot feel fairly nailed down later on. Let me just go through the sharpshooter. Has a couple of other buffs. Well, he has the camo cloak essentially. So when an operative is shooting, the operative ignores saturate, and if you retain cover saves, you can retain 1 additional cover save instead. As a critical, or retain 1 as a critical success instead. This isn't cumulative with improved cover saves from vantage terrain. Nice. The combat medic. So again, standard everything, right? But this guy has the medic ability, which is a lot of text, a very standard ability. They should have just put a medic ability in the core rulebook, maybe. But there you go. Medic. The first time during each turning point that another friendly Kasrkin operative will be removed from the kill zone as incapacitated. While visible and within 3 of this operative, you can use this rule, providing neither this nor that operative is within control range of an enemy operative. If you do, the friendly operative isn't incapacitated and has 1 wound remaining. The friendly operative can then immediately perform a free dash action, but must end that move within this operative's control range. Subtract 1 from this and that operative's APL stats until the end of the next activation respectively, and if this rule was used during that friendly operative's activation, that activation ends. You cannot use this rule if this operative is incapacitated. Exactly the same as the Gene Stealer Cult Medic that we covered last time, but you might not have watched that one. Okay. So we can bring somebody back from the dead on 1 wound. It's pretty situational to where this is going to help you, because you're bringing a guy back from the dead on 1 wound and you're losing 2 APL to do so. But, you know, if you have this guy up behind a wall babysitting a melter gun or something similar, the melter gun dies, you bring the melter gun back on 1 wound, and then the melter gun gets to activate and shoot the melter gun. That's potentially really worth doing, right? He can also heal somebody, so for 0 AP, which is pretty nice, okay, select one friendly Kasrkin operative within this operative's control range to gain 2d3 lost wounds. It cannot be an operative that the medic rule was used on during this turning point. This operative cannot perform this action while within control range of an enemy operative. That's nice. It's nice that it's 0 AP as well, so you can move, shoot, and put some wounds in somebody. Okay, or if you're on 1 AP because you resurrected somebody, you can still move and medic someone else, right? Or you can shoot and medic, or whatever you want to do. So a pretty handy miniature. You're taking one, right? Because there's no contests in this team. You're definitely taking one. I think he's pretty cool. The Demo Trooper. If you don't know, you're in for a treat. Let's read it. Melter Mine. This operative is carrying your Melter Mine marker. It can perform the pickup marker action on that marker. Whenever it performs the place marker action on that marker, it can immediately perform a free dash action. That marker cannot be placed within the enemy operative's control range. If this operative is incapacitated while carrying that marker cannot be placed. It's removed with this operative. Proximity Mine. The first time your Melter Mine is within another operative's control range, remove that marker and inflict 2d6 plus 3 damage on that operative. 2d6 plus... That's an average of 10 damage. Right? And a possible spike of 15 damage. Right? That's a lot of damage compared to most of the kind of mines and things in the game. Like... If it isn't incapacitated, end its action, if any, even if that action's effects aren't fulfilled. So in other words, you can use this to like... The obvious thing to do is to put it down in the dead centre of an objective marker, right? To keep it safe. But if you do that, when they stop moving, they'll be on the objective marker. Better, if you can, to put it down, if the terrain is laid out such that you can do this, to put it down in front of an objective marker, right, such that they, not only will they take potentially a life-ending amount of damage if they head for that objective marker, but also they'll stop their movement dead in the middle of that mine, and therefore potentially not be able to just mission action on your objective marker. Really nice. Really, really nice. If it cannot replace move at the minimum amount to do so, this operative is ignored for these effects. It cannot set off or take damage from its own marker, which is really good. So you do get a free dash action when you place it, which you might think was to dash out of the way of triggering your own marker, but it's okay. They've made it so you don't need to play around your marker. You can just stand on them, because you have to be able to pick it up and move it if that's what you really want to do. I would suggest that picking up and moving it is a weird thing to do, but it's nice to have the option. And so you can just go and dance around on the marker and stand there. You could just stand on the marker shooting somebody with your 8-inch las pistol going, yep, are you going to charge me? Because we're standing on a demo mine that when it blows off just doesn't hurt me. You know, I mean, I'm not saying that a hotshot las pistol at range 8 is like the best gun in the world, but it's pretty funny. It's pretty funny that you could just stand there on your own mine going, yeah, man, I don't know what to tell you. You could charge me, right? Even funnier if you if you really wanted to just be literally covered in bullshit, you could just stand there with your Demo Trooper on your proximity mine, right, and then have a smoke grenade out, and then you're just standing. Well, I'm just standing my smoke. I'm not something that you want to do anything about. I'm standing. Yeah, he doesn't have a very good gun. Yeah, it's not exactly like going to win you the game, but it's kind of very trollish and funny. He also has the blast padding rule. Whenever an operative is shooting this operative with a weapon that has the blast or torrent weapon rule, excluding weapons with a sweeping profile, you can reroll one of your defense dice. In addition, this operative isn't affected by the X devastating weapon X rule, e.g. devastating with a distance, unless they're the target during that sequence. That's just a nice, fun, like thematic X rule that's going to help you out now and again. I love the Demo Trooper. The Demo Trooper's amazing. I like that stupid little interaction where you just stand on your own mine, especially covered in smoke, and just go up. Up. I'm just here. I don't know when that will be particularly useful, but you can say, I'm just here now, right? Maybe you do want to put the mine on an objective just so you can stand there on the objective going, oh, well, I'm going to stand here and I'm going to loot this, stand on my mine, covered in smoke. It's not like you could... Preferably, you'd be concealed behind a wall if you were doing that, right? Yeah. Cool. Recon Trooper. The Recon Trooper is pretty cool. So again, same weapons and stats. He's got the Recognizer Kill Zone ability. The relocation strategy Ploys, this is the one that allows him and people within 3 inches of him to do a free dash. Costs you 0 CP if this operative is the selected friendly Kasrkin operative. That's really good. That takes you from being an okay and situational ploy to being, yeah, why not? I'll have some free movement. If this operative is in an Inquisitorial Agents kill team, you can still use this rule. Replace Kasrkin on that ploy with Inquisitorial Agents. This takes precedence over the restriction in the Inquisitorial Requisition rule that you cannot use this ploy with an Inquisitorial Agent kill team unless this operative is selected. I mean, we've not covered Inquisitorial Agents yet. It's kind of mental that that's there. That you can just get an extra ploy into your Inquisitorial Agents team. It is worth saying, I guess, Kasrkin are pretty cool. They're arguably much better if you take half Kasrkin, half Inquisitors with Inquisitorial Agents, but for now, we're covering Kasrkin. But it's interesting that that's on there. It's actually the Inquisitorial Agent stuff is on his card in the Kasrkin team. That's kind of fun. Then we got an Auspex Scamp of 1 AP. Until this starter's operative's next activation, or until it's incapacitated, whichever comes first, a friendly Kasrkin operative is shooting an enemy operative with an 8 of this operative. That enemy operative can't be obscured. That's really cool. Cool bubble. It means that you... the rest of your team of many, many long-range shooting men, are really going to enjoy this guy going, yeah, he's not obscured, everyone, let's go for it. That's pretty... It doesn't mean you have to move him up, right? But then again, he does get this free movement potentially every single turn, so he's going to have a good chance of getting up there. So that's nice. Yeah. Vox Trooper. Same stats, has a battle comms, 1 AP, select one of the friendly Kasrkin operative. Until the end of that operative's next activation, add 1 APL to its APL stat to a maximum of 3 APL after all stat changes have been totaled. The operative performs action twice during the activation, but can't perform the action within control range of an enemy operative. It's the best radio in kill team. You can use it twice. You don't need to see. You don't need a range limit. You just go him and plus 1 APL, off you go. Let's go. So this is really good in so many ways. First of all, it's really good that you can hand out all this extra APL. You can use it for people who don't know this trick, because maybe they've just started kill team for this edition. You can use this on 2 operatives that have already activated. So you've got put the tokens out, and then there'll be APL 3 in turning point 2. Right? But you can also use it again in turning point 2 to make another 2 operatives APL 3. So you could have from your Vox Trooper 4 APL 3 models. And then when you consider your leaders also APL 3, you could potentially be going into turning point 2 with 5 APL 3 miniatures. That's pretty good. If that's something you want to do, that's pretty good. I also think this is a really good burner activation, right? So if you're a 10 model team and you are fighting against a 6 model, especially Marine team, and you're like, well, what I want him to do is move one of his models to somewhere one of my guys with a gun can possibly shoot. Like, move to a place and get a shot. You're going to want to activate your Vox Trooper, I would say, fairly early on, because it's something you can do and go, okay, cool, he's got +1 APL, he's got +1 APL, and then you've not changed the board state, you've not given them a shot. So it's a good activation to use like that as well. Yeah. Trooper. So you have to take one, but you don't mind because he's pretty cool. So again, all the standard stats. So he's got a hotshot lasgun that can be improved, right? But he can lob smoke and stun grenades. So he let's just read this. Adaptive equipment. You can do each of the following once per turning point. One friendly Kasrkin trooper can perform the smoke grenade action. One friendly Kasrkin trooper can perform the stun grenade action. So you can just have a smoke grenade and a stun grenade for him every turn. So that means you can have 4 smokes and 4. If he somehow didn't move all game and it was useful to you, you could have 4 smokes and 4 stuns from one model every single game. Obviously, he's likely to want to move. You could give him 3 APL so he can move and then smoke and stun. I mean, that's pretty good. But it's nice that you have access to the smokes and the stuns. Yes, only from this one model, but it means that you don't have to take utility grenades as an equipment choice if you want access to utility grenades. It does mean that this guy has to babysit somebody that wants to be smoked, potentially, right? Equipment. So we're going to start with foregrip. Okay, foregrip fitted under the barrel of the gun. This foregrip helps stabilise the bearer's weapon, improving its handling at close range. Whenever a friendly Kasrkin operative is shooting an operative within 3 of it, its ranged weapons on its data card, excluding weapons that include pistol in the name, e.g. hotshot last pistol, all profiles and plasma pistol, etc., have the accurate 1 weapon rule. Accurate 1 lets you retain 1 dice as an automatic hit, which is pretty cool. It's a good bit of kit, but it is only when you're shooting within 3. Shooting within 3 is a little bit of a failure state. Right, you don't generally want to be shooting at somebody within 3. The people that generally do want to be shooting at somebody that might be that close is your sergeant, who might be doing a sort of charge, fight, shoot, or charge, shoot, fight kind of thing. But it doesn't affect pistols, so he can't use it. The biggest person that might get some good use out of this is the melter, because it's only got a 6-inch range anyway. So if you can be within 3 and use this, that's a decent bonus. But it's alright. I would take it in the absence of any universal equipment that I really wanted to take. You're not going to regret taking this. It might not come up, but if it comes up in your game, it really is going to help you out. Long range scope. This weapon is fitted with a marksman's scope, enabling great accuracy at long range. Whenever a friendly Kasrkin operative is shooting an operative more than 6 away from it, in the roll attack dice step, if you retain any critical successes, its hotshot weapons, excluding hotshot lance pistol, have the saturate weapon rule. So this is mandatory. This is like, okay, so I'm going to have this. I'm going to have piercing crits as well on all my hotshot, right? And then I'm going to have guarantee a crit if I'm fighting an unactivated miniature. And again, this is just another part of the puzzle that makes it so that I kind of think the sniper is worthwhile, because that is a hotshot pistol. So now, if you're fighting somebody, if you have all these things active, and you're fighting somebody who is themselves ready, you are getting saturate, you are getting piercing 1, right? Because you have severe. And even without them being ready, yeah, you have to actually roll the crit, but you've got a decent chance. I think this is the most mandatory piece of equipment that you would never leave home without, right? Faction equipment relics of Cadia. Small personal effects remind the Kasrkin of their homeworld, which they've lost, and that which they fight for. Once per turning point, when a friendly Kasrkin operative is shooting, if you roll 2 or more fails, you discard one of them to retain the other as a normal success instead. It's Hurricane insurance, but on a team that's so obsessed with shooting, I think it's probably something you take. Like, I'd drop it 3rd. I could see leaving. The only one I think is mandatory is long range scope. I could see leaving home without this, but it would have to be for a very good reason. Like, I was playing on Better Decima, and I just felt I needed all the placeable terrain in the world, all the ladders, all the light barricades, and the heavy barricade, and everything else. But yeah, Relics of Cadia is pretty good. And then you've got your combat daggers, which is give everyone a better melee weapon. So 3 dice on 4s, 3, 4. You can make it 4 dice for Cadia, which is cute. It's a decent buff. It lets you potentially do something in close combat. Again, if you have that turn 3 or turn 4 where the game has devolved into a fist fight in a minefield, having this will, be really useful to you in that situation. So, regarding team-wide equipment, I feel with this team there's often going to be a temptation to take barricades, razor wire, because you want to try and keep them back, keep the melee teams from getting to you, keep them back, get stuff, put stuff on the ground, put stuff in their way. You might even want to take a minefield. Like, I don't generally rate it, but it adds to that feeling of trying to build your half of the board as your fortress and try and just avoid them coming in certain directions. So I can kind of see that as well. Yeah. So if you wanted to try that style of play, I could see you'd probably drop the foregrip, you'd probably drop the combat daggers. Potentially you could drop relics as well, but never, ever, ever drop the long-range scope. You've also got the option of if you literally want to go for light barricades and razor wire and a minefield and a heavy barricade, depending on the deployment zone, I could see dropping all three. I could also see taking the scouting option for a free piece of equipment, potentially, right? If you also wanted ladders, let's say, which is possible, depending again on the terrain layout, right? Tac Ops. So, okay. I've been rushing through these and not really reading them. I'm going to read them all out just to explain to you why I've dismissed some of them out of hand. So, Storm objectives. When you first score VP from this op, reveal it then. At the end of each friendly operative's activation, if it controls an objective marker that enemy operatives controlled at the start of the activation or that's wholly within your opponent's territory, and the objective marker is not contested by enemy operatives, that objective marker is stormed by friendly operatives this turn. Once per turning point after the first, if an objective marker is stormed, you score 1 VP. At the end of each turning point after the first, if friendly operatives control an objective marker that was stormed by friendly operatives this turning point, you score 1 VP. Like, it's not bad, but I think you want the flexibility with this team to not have to push up into their deployment zone and get their objectives. Right? Overrun, again, I don't have to read the whole thing. Once per turning point, these Tac Ops cards feel like more word salad than anything else, right? I'm just going to summarise. Overrun requires you to kill somebody and then have your models up in your opponent's territory, right? I don't think you want to be doing that either. Because I think you want to be kind of living in your board half, mainly, with most of your team most of the time. Champion is interesting. So we've covered Champion a lot. With all the Marine teams, and I said definitely take it, right? So in each turning point, so as a strategic gambit thing, you designate one of your models as the champion. That champion then has to incapacitate an enemy operative. If it incapacitates an enemy operative, you score 1 VP, or 2 VP if that operative had a wound stat of more than 12. So a maximum of 2 VP for a turning point. You never take this against a non-Marine team. So if a team has less than 12, you don't really have any operatives. Maybe the leader can, with 3 APL, a decent combat weapon and a pistol, right? And maybe the hotshot volley gun on sweeping mode, and maybe the grenade launcher with the frag grenade if you're very lucky. But it's going to be very hard, I feel, to guarantee killing 2 low-wounded guys in one activation with the Kasrkin. Right, it's not like a Marine team where every bugger can shoot twice or fight twice, right? Which is why for Marines I like the idea of champion quite a lot. So if you're playing against a 12 wounds and up team, yes, you can try it. The thing is, one-shotting a Marine isn't easy. I've played countless games now with my Night Lords, where my melter gun's gotten the drop on a Marine, right, and had a full shot, even from vantage, with all the advantages that gives, and not killed the Marine, right? So it's hard to recommend champion, actually. Like, it does push you to be doing what you need to be doing, which is killing, and maybe you can set yourself up for champion by, turning point 1, try and half kill a Marine, turning point 2, go champion to finish off that Marine, and then try and half kill a different Marine, and then declare that in turning point 3 you're going to kill the Marine that you half killed. But it makes your team very predictable, it makes your opponent quite easy to deny the champion, I think. The one team where I think you take this is against Phobos, because Phobos have precisely 12 wounds, and I think you probably can one-tap a Phobos more reliably than you can one-tap a 14-wound Marine. But even then, it's not the easiest thing in the world. Where I think the answer actually lies in security is in Contain. So Contain, you reveal when you first score VP from this op. Victory points. At the end of each turning point after the first, if there are no enemy operatives wholly within your territory, you score 1. If there are no enemy operatives wholly within 6 of your drop zone, you score another 1. So, if you imagine your team... I said a similar thing for the GCL Occult. If you imagine your team of mainly shooting guys, it's kind of you deploy in the terrain, in the strongholds, in the things on your side of the table, in decent vantage points, or where they're covering fire lanes. You want to force the opponent to come to you. Once they realise in turning point 3 that you have security, because you reveal security, and go, hey, I've just scored 2 VP, because you're over there and I'm over here, then in turning point 2, they're going to be like, oh, I can't let him keep just scoring security. He might have that as his primary op for all I know. I'm going to have to push up. Well, him then pushing up means that you go, okay, good. So now you're pushing up into the places where I've got unobscured shots to you, right? Maybe you've got your little clearance sweep marker set up just to add insult to injury to get that free reroll. I think security is the tool with which you use to try and take control of the game. Now, as I said on the Digital Cults video, playing in that way, you might well end up ceding that middle objective to your opponent, but you that only puts them ahead 3VP. So, you've got to whip, does having this out, and therefore forcing them to come into you, and that mean that you're going to go ahead on the kill up? Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. I need to play more games to find the answer. But it's certainly a decent question, I think. Take ground is also an option, right? So take ground, you reveal it when you first score VP. Victory points at the end of each turning point after the first. Now, it's the Vulcus bit that I really care about. In Killzone Vulcus, if friendly operatives control any stronghold terrain features within your opponent's territory, you score 2 VP. Now, it doesn't say wholly within your opponent's territory. So there's a couple of map layouts where the kill zone, one of the strongholds, is kind of straddling the centre line. And so in some cases, straddling the centre line, but more than half in one territory. So if you know you have this, you get to pick the side, and you pick the side with the kill zone mostly on your half, you've got a decent chance of controlling it. So just to be clear, an operative contests a stronghold feature when it's wholly within. An operative controls all the other terrain features within their control range. Okay? I think that's quite possible, right? Now, just for clarity, in Gallow Dark, it has to be each access point on the centre line or within your opponent's territory that you're at control. I like this much less on Gallow Dark. For any other kill zone, it's each terrain feature with heavy terrain within your opponent's territory that friendly operatives control. You score 1 VP. Again, it's the Vulcus. It's on Vulcus. This seems quite straightforward. In some of those others, you really have to be getting into there. I mean, it depends what you're playing. If you're playing like on the old Warhammer World Chalnath boards with that massive Chalnath like hanger thing, and again that's straddling the centre line because it's not wholly within, maybe you can take ground on that. Right? You have to look at the map and be very aware of what's going on. Okay? Yeah. And then you've also got Secure Centre. I don't think you want to play Secure Centre. And Secure Centre is exactly what it says in the tin. You have to be within 3 of the centres to score it. I don't think this is something you want to do with your Kasrkin. So I'm looking at Contain. I'm situationally looking at Take Ground. And then I'm potentially looking at Champion. If I'm feeling a little bit lucky, I'm into Marines. I'm looking at a bit harder. I'm into Phobos in particular. Or how many wounds does a Hierotex Circle fellow have? Is it 12? Maybe Hierotex Circle. I should know that. Maybe Hierotex Circle as well. Right. Simple list. I think you want to go for the Sergeant with the Hot Shot Last Pistol Power Weapon. You get a Melter Gun, Plasma Gun, Hot Shot Volley Gun. I've gone for the Sharpshooter. That could easily be the Grenade Launcher. And that's really the only change that I'd swap in and out. Sharpshooter, Grenade Launcher, Sharpshooter. Combat Medic, Demo Trooper, Recon Trooper, Vox Trooper, and Trooper. Right. Why are we in Amazon? We're in Amazon because they have it in stock. Element doesn't have it in stock. Wayland doesn't have it in stock. Games Workshop doesn't have it in stock. It's coming. It's getting a rebox, right? It will eventually be released. But if you want it today, you watch this video and go, yes, I'm motivated to go and get Kasrkin. It is £41.56 on Amazon, which is, more than I'd like to pay. But it's just trying to make the point that, like, Games Workshop, if you actually... They've invested so much into making Kill Team this new player experience, they actually need to get the rest of these boxes out now, because people like me are making all these videos and saying, oh, this team, and I'm inspired by this team, can't actually buy it right now, right? Hopefully on Sunday we'll get a release announcement. I'm really hoping it's going to be the Kill Team starter set and the next wave of reboxes because that's what the health of the game needs. But yeah, it's on Amazon. I put 2 of them in my cart. You don't need to, right? You can, if you take your box and build this list. And it's only really then if you want to go, okay, actually I want a grenade launcher, then you'll need a second box, right? Buying a second box for 1 miniature that you're situationally going to use, it sucks. If someone else has already bought a Kasrkin second box for 1 miniature, and you're in a group with them, maybe they'll sell you or just give you a free Kasrkin so that you can, because after all, you'll have the spare grenade launcher arms from your initial box, right? If you have the box, you can also make things like a flamer, right? Or a second leader if you want to try a plasma pistol. So there's a few things you can do, but it's almost a 1-box team if you decide for sure which gunners you're not using, right? Final thoughts. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the sniper versus grenade launcher. I failed to elicit that debate in the Gene Stealer Cult in the Brood Brothers video, which is a shame because my ulterior motive was the Brood Brothers video was to put that out so that people would tell me how to play my Brood Brothers in the comments. But the wisdom of the crowd has not been forthcoming, except about the Magus' melee weapon, which was the least of my concerns. But there we go. And then the elephant in the room with this team is, can you actually have fun in Marines with a team like this? I am a little bit worried that a team like this, by which I mean a 10 model team with 4 up save and with 8 wounds against Marines, do they just die? You have to play the game in such a cagey way. If you're trying to, the worst thing you could do is be okay, I'm going to try and win on the critical objective. I'm going to get into the center. I'm going to mob that central point with my dudes, because the Marine's just going to go, oh look, a pile of dudes in the center. I'll shoot one with my bolt rifle, and then I'll charge and kill this other one, right? And then you fuck around and do something else. Oh, now I'm overwatching, and I'm going to shoot another one. Do you know what I mean? You have to play, if you're playing a non-Marine team in this edition of Kill Team, I think you have to kind of keep them back. You have to play a real cagey game, which really begs the question of what you do if you're a non-Marine close combat oriented team like Blades of Cain. I think what you do there is just die, quite frankly. But that's kind of a well-known decision that the rest of the community has already come to regarding that team. I think you have to play cagey. I think you have to fall back. I think you have to leverage the security tac ops to kind of force the opponent to come into you. Yeah, I'm in this stronghold, so if you're going to come in, at least I'm going to get a strike first, right? At least I'm going to have bonuses. Let me know what you think. Can you actually play Kasrkin and not even win? I don't even. It's the point now where I'm so even though I've only played 2 games, Zimbad has had this spectacular return to form. I don't even really entertain the idea that I will win, but will it be fun? Or will it be well, it's the end of turn 2 and I'm tabled, so GG, Let me know what you think in the comments. I want to say thank you to all my members, subscribers, supporters, the channel's doing really, really well. Really, really pleased. Obviously, it really helps that Games Workshop has released all this stuff, and I'm going through a lot of talking. A lot of people have been leaving really lovely comments saying you're my favourite Kill Team channel, or you explain these really well. You're the Auspex Tactics of Kill Team. All I would beg is if you genuinely think these lovely, lovely things, telling me is lovely and it boosts my ego, but tell Reddit or X or Instagram or Discord. Tell other people that you like my channel and why you like it, and then other people will come and hopefully they will like the channel, and that's where growth comes from, because it doesn't reliably come from YouTube actually just randomly suggesting videos. That's great, but it doesn't necessarily do that, okay? And I also want to say a big thank you to all those people who actually are channel members. There's a membership button down the bottom. You click on that. You can actually, it's like Patreon, but I'm using the YouTube platform because I find it easier to get my head around, right? And it just means that you get certain benefits. You get to watch all of the live streams that we do every week. There's a live stream on a Wednesday, and that's recorded, but the recordings are only available for members, so that's the big content wedge that is behind the paywall for you there. You also get, everybody can join the Discord. The link's in the description. Members have access to an extra little room on the Discord where we talk about irrelevant rubbish, right? But if you want to talk about irrelevant rubbish, then that's another option for you, because the internet needed more spaces where you could talk about irrelevant rubbish. Thanks. That's it. I've run out of ramble, so I hope you enjoyed the video. Do all those things. And hopefully tomorrow's video is me going to be going, hey, look, all this stuff's coming to pre-order. But probably not. Probably I'll hang around at 6 o'clock, and then they'll release something for, like, Legions Imperialis, and then I'll have to quickly make another faction rundown instead. We will see. Cheery, bye. Bye, goodbye.